Thank you. Welcome everyone to this academy about the quality control. First look at the quality control. We say first look because this is a feature we have been building in for about half a year. It's not completely new. It was always possible to at least set the quality status within Nfield. But the last 6 months, we have been adding a lot of features to that quality, to those status features, and recently even methods where you can look at data for quality purposes. It's not ready, which is why we still say this is a first look. We are still adding features to this, but this is at a point where we think that there is enough value for people to actually start using this, and it's at a point where we really want people to start using this, so we can get some guidance from you, the actual users, on what should be the next thing that we add to this feature, or how we can improve the look and feel of, for instance, the way we are presenting the answer data in this quality control feature. Before we start, let's make one thing sure what we mean when we talk about quality control. We mean the quality of the interview. So checking whatever that interview is up to standards, and if it is not, rejecting that interview. It's not about the quality of the survey. We have other features in Nfield on which you can judge the quality of your survey. That is not about editing the interview data. We strongly believe that there should be one independent, undisputed source of truth of what data was collected during the interview. And that can only be our database. And for that reason, we will never allow you to directly edit answers in that database. If you have a need to do that, you can, of course, download that data and start your editing on a copy of it, but we will not, in light of this feature, build a editing feature onto that data. So with that said, let's take a look at what it actually does. So I have split the demo in two parts. That is because currently how we have released that is in two parts. There is a part that is released for everyone, which is the first part of the demo, which is mainly about the result codes and how to look at the quality status and how to set that status. And then the second part will be about evaluating interview data. That is only available at request. I will explain at the end of the academy how you can make that available for your domain. So let's start with taking a look at the interview status and how to set that quality status. To do that, let me very quickly remind you of the different result status that we already have, because some of them will return in that in the quality status, and it is important to realize what we mean when we say when we refer to certain statuses. So these are not all the interview statuses that there are, but these are the most important ones. There are some statuses referring to email invitations, which I have not added here. So the major interview statuses are assigned, which is a KP status only. It means that that sample has been assigned to an interviewer, but that interviewer has not picked up that assignment yet. Then we have the status active, which again is also a KP only status. It means that the assigned sample has actually been picked up by the interviewer as well, which means it is now active on his device. Whatever he is doing currently an interview on it, we of course don't know because KP is offline. Then we have active live. That one is online only, and that actually means that this interview is running at this moment. Then we have 3 real result statuses. Those are dropped out. Dropped out means that the interview is paused either by the respondent clicking on the pause button or because your script routed the respondent to a paused option. Other reason could be that your respondent simply closed the browser, and that will also result in a dropped out status. Then we have screened out. Screened out means that the respondent is routed to a part in your script where you have decided that this is not a successful interview and that you no longer need to continue, but that you also no longer need to continue this interview. So it's either quota full or this respondent does not qualify for this survey, etc., etc. So that results in a screened out status. And then finally, we have the successful status, the status we all want. This is a interview, it should be counted. Last 2 status is what we call what in Nfield the definite responses. That means that interview cannot be restarted. Dropped out interviews can be restarted in theory. Whatever they can in practice depends on how you have configured the survey and this particular interview. As I said, the screened out and the successfuls, those are the definite responses. How does this relates to QC? The quality control. Well, the quality control is only about the successful interviews. So the only thing you will see on that quality page are the successful interviews, and not the screened outs, not the dropped outs. Next, and that one is then actually the result status that we have created for quality control. Those are 5. 3 of them you probably already recognize because they have been part of Nfield from the beginning. But let's go through them all 5. The first one is the unverified one, which is the status that has at the end of the interview if you do not touch the quality status during the interview. So then it is unverified. Next status that we have, which is a new status that we have added, that is needs to be checked. That is also still a unverified interview, but it now has the status it needs to be checked, and this one can be set from the script. I will shortly demo how you exactly set this from the script. So that means that you can mark suspect interviews directly from the script as this needs to be checked. Then we have a status mark to be rejected, which is also a new status that we have added. Mark to be rejected is a first step in what we call a 4 eyes rejection. So if you only want to reject interviews by at least having 2 people looking at that interview, then the first person should mark this interview to be rejected, and then the second one can pick it up and finally decide if that interview really needs to be rejected or approved. And that gets us to the final 2 statuses, approved, which is not a status that you really need to set, but if you want to have a nice overview on what interviews you already have handled and what not, it is a wise idea to explicitly approve them. And finally, the rejected status. The rejected status is the only one that has an action associated with it. The rejection, as soon as you reject an interview, that means that that interview will be removed from the total count and any quota count for which it was counted. Yeah. Which also that means as long as it has one of those 4 other statuses, it is still counted as a successful interview. Yeah. little bit more on that result status done by putting it in a flow diagram. So those are the 5 statuses: unverified, needs to be checked, which are basically the 2 statuses that an interview can have when you have finished a successful interview. It is either unverified if you have done nothing in your script to mark that interview. It needs to be checked if you have marked it in your interview as such. Then the next step can either be directly from needs to be checked to rejected or approved, or from unverified to approved or rejected. Or you can have a step in between where you can say, okay, mark to be rejected, and then a second person takes a new look at it and actually says, okay, approved or rejected. Currently, this is the flow that we have envisioned. Currently, we do not enforce this flow. So you can go through this in any order that you would like. This is one of the things where we really are waiting for feedback if we should enforce an order there, and if we should enforce a flow there, and then how and which one. So let's do the demo. Let's actually see how you can set that needs to be checked status in your script. So let me switch to the developer. And I have 2 examples here. One where I show the basis, which is basically here, and then a slightly more complicated one where I actually set those status on certain aspects. So that interview status, that quality status to be set, it means that you need in the sample data, in star sample data, you need to define the TT interview quality. That is a system variable. And as soon as you have configured that in your script as sample data, you can then actually put TT interview quality data to 5. And with that, you have marked this interview as needs to be checked. The sharp ones among you will probably think, okay, this is 5. That probably means that the other statuses are 4, 3, 2, and 1. And you would be right, they are. But you cannot set those statuses from the script. You can only set status 5 needs to be checked from the script. So let's actually use this in a more interesting way. And therefore, I have created this survey, random check. We will also run this survey shortly, but let's first take a look at what we are actually doing here. I have built in 3 points where I mark the data, where I mark the interview as needs to be checked. The first one is based on a date, on a timestamp. So here I check the first timestamp. I have a second date here, and then I simply use the date time span algorithm to calculate the time difference here, which is the time spent in these 2 interviews, and I check if that is less than 10 seconds. I think that is suspicious. That is very fast, and I simply then put TT interview to 5, which needs to be checked. And I have a variable where I also note the reason why I am putting this one, the reason why I am marking this one as needs to be checked, because it's too short. That way, at the end of the interview, I can actually check if my checks have worked. Now, the second one that I do is based on quality is based on quota. I have 3 quotas here. I will shortly talk about this one, but these are the ones that matter for the first quality check, which is gender and age. I have one particular cell which I think, which I expect so little, that little interviews from, that I really want everything to be checked in that cell, because every problem in that cell would be problematic, because I expect so little interviews in that cell. So gender is male, age brackets younger than 21. If you are in that quota cell, the interview quality has been put to needs to be checked as well. And the check reason is quota cell. Then, as I said, I have a third quota cell, which I use for the third one, which is the random check. That quota cell you see here, it simply says don't check and check. What I do at the end of the interview, I also, from all the interviews I have not marked as need to be checked, I want to check at least one in every 3 interviews. I could do that by drawing a random number and then randomly assign once in every 4 interviews to be checked, but that would mean that I do not get a clear cut that I'm actually checking 25%. I'm doing it randomly, so it could be a bit more, it could be a bit less. That is very often difficult to explain to customers, that is how random checks. So instead, I'm using the least filled to actually make sure that I have a very equal split, 25-75 between them. What I do for that is I first check whatever the interview quality is already set to 5, because if it is, this one is already going to be checked. So if it is not set to 5, I get the least filled based on check or don't check. So I get the least filled whatever it is checked or not checked. I then include the least filled into the quota, which happens here, and then finally I check whatever that least filled is, check or not check, and based on that, if it is check, I put the check reason to random, and I put the interview quality to 5, so it is actually marked to be checked. Okay, let's take a look at the manager, and let's also take a look at the quota frame, so you understand why this least filled works if we do it like this. So let's go to not this one, this one. Let's get our surveys, which is the random check survey. Let's first take a look at the quota. The quota setup. For the check and don't check, it's not really a quota. I just want to make sure that every one of every 4th interview is being checked, and you simply do that by exactly in the minimum targets. You exactly say here what you want. 1 in every 4 interviews should be checked. So 1 interview should be checked, then 3 not. And just make sure that that minimum target is so low that it doesn't interfere with one of your real targets, and this will work nicely. So let's actually do this. Let's run. Let's do a questionnaire. Let's first look at the actual. No, let's simply run a questionnaire. So let's copy the live link. So we already said if it is a male and If that male is younger than 21, that needs to be checked. So if I choose these ones, I will get to the survey, and it now should say me this needs to be checked based on the quota cell. Next one, the other that we had built in was male, and I need to speed up now. So I do this in 10 seconds, and then it should say it's too short. And then the final one is the random one. And therefore we need to take a look at the actual quota achievements for this survey at this point. So let's go to the quota. Let's see here what we have. We have 10 interviews, 4 are being checked. 4 are already being checked, 10 are not being checked, so that is 14. So the next interview should not be checked because we are not, because the don't checks are the least, should be the least filled now. Okay, we need to do this a bit slow because we don't want this to be checked because it is too fast. So do the survey and it's not being checked at all. So that is correct. And okay. So let's then actually take a look. What does that mean? I have them checked and I have them not checked. To actually look at the quality page, we need to go to sample and invitations, and there we have the quality control part. And if I open that one, here you will see the quality text. You see the one that needs to be checked are immediately those are immediately sorted on top because these need to be checked on priority, because from the script it is actually said these are suspicious, or we actually have an agreement that we check at least 25% of all the interviews. And these are the ones that we have selected. So these are on top. And here you have an overview of how many completed interviews there actually are, how many there are rejected, how many have the status needs to be checked, how many are marked to be rejected, and a percentage of the task completion. This is the reason why it would be wise to use the unverified option as well, because this will only run to 100%. Or to use the approved option as well, because this will only run to 100% if you approve everything that you don't reject. Okay. So if I want to change these statuses, what do? I simply open it, and if I open it, I will actually see the statuses I can set, which is either approve, reject, unverify, or mark to be rejected. Let's actually reject this one. Let's take a notice that we have 20 completed interviews. Now let's actually go back to the sample, to the monitor before we do that. And let's notice here that we have 18 successful interviews. And then because the 20 are just the ones that are mentioned in the quota, in the quality page. So we have 18 successful interviews. We say here, reject this one. And that should then immediately result in us now having "17 successful interviews." This one wasn't counted in the quota, which is probably, yeah, okay. I should have looked at the progress, which does, okay. Let's do this one more time. So we have 20 successes. Yeah, some of those interviews are counted in the quota, some are not. So that's a bit part of the script. We have 20 successful interviews. No, we have 18 successful interviews. Sorry, we have 2 rejected, 18 successful interviews. So if I go to sample and invitations, quality page, and I now reject this interview, needs to be, yeah. This now, I now have 3 rejected interviews. If I go to monitor field work, I now have 17 successful interviews. So yeah, as said, those rejected interviews are deducted from the count. So this is about the status. Now, the next step is probably slightly more interesting. It is actually looking at the data. Let's first return to our presentation. And, so evaluating interview data. Remind ourselves what that means. It means we can only evaluate interview data for successful interviews, not for screened outs, not for dropped outs. You will only see data that was entered by the respondent or the interviewer. You will not see any background data. You will not see any dummy data, only the data that was actually entered by the respondent or the interviewer is visible on quality control page. As said, it is only meant to evaluate the interview and change the QC status It is not meant to change the interview data. And that is not something that is on, and that is also not something that is on our backlog to add. Last thing, this part of the QC feature is still very actively being worked on. And for that reason, we are only providing this on request. Okay, now let's actually take a look on what is available. And as said, this is still being worked on as we speak. Come on. Yeah. So I will now actually switch to my beta domain, which is this one. Am I still logged in here? I am still. Yeah. Okay. Because we have had a delivery yesterday, a sprint delivery yesterday, and we actually added new features to this, and I want to show you the latest one, which is only available on beta at this point. Let's first actually take a look at the script that we are using, which is the complete show script. So let's go to it's not a very complicated script. The script is basically meant to run through every possibility, every question type we have, so we can see each and every question type, how that is presented in the overview. So we basically have a single codes question, which is male, female. We have a number question, your age. We have a multi question where we show a list of brands. Then we have a repeat controlled by that list of brands, where we basically say how often do you use this. One thing to notice here, I am using the table command here. The data that we show on the quality control page is coming from our repositories. It's coming from the databases, and that means that if you want to have a repeat shown in that database, you need to use the table command because otherwise it cannot be stored in those databases. So if you want a repeat visible in that quality complaints, you need to start using the table command. If you have uploaded recently Q files in the managers, you might have seen warnings if you don't use the table commands that the repeat will not be part of the reporting pipeline. And now you know what that means. So repeat, how often do you use this? If you use it at all, I include it into Q7, which I then use later on as a control on a matrix. For now, we can skip that. I have an open question within this repeat, And then I also have a repeat within the repeat, where I basically ask if you only use it now and then, what other brands you then are also using. So this is QV2, which means I'm only using it now and then, and I'm skipping if the brand in the inner repeat is the same as the brand in the outer repeat, because we already know that you are. Would be a silly question to ask, do you use brand A if brand A isn't available? And that is the end of our two repeats, end wrap, and then finally there is a multi-question, or sorry, this is the setup, a dummy multi-question, a setup for the matrix, where we simply ask for all the brands that you buy, if you buy them online or in store, and also the matrix needs a table command to be visible in the QC status. So with that, let's take actually a look at our survey. Let's actually run that survey so we also have seen the data for real ones. So let's get our link here and let's run this survey. So, gender, male, age 55. I am not running any template here. This is not what I meant to do, but how often do you use brand B? Well, let's say never, and then we should get the open question. Why? Let's say always for this one, always for this one. Let's say never for this one. Okay. I now actually yeah, okay. And we have the matrix question. I now actually realize that I probably have uploaded the wrong question here, which is what you get if you decide on the last moment that you are running this on beta. So let's actually do this again and let's upload the real question. Sorry for this one. Let's move to this one. Let's actually upload the question that I just shown you, which is in script, and that is the complete show queue. Let's publish this one. Of course, there are no changes to publish because I haven't saved this one yet. Let's publish. Okay. And let's do one more interview. Now we are actually, yeah, now we actually have the Chicago template. So let's very quickly go over this one. Male, 55. Next, let's pick 4 brands. Next one. Never we get the question. By now and then we should get the inner repeat, which we did not get before because that was not part of that script that was uploaded there. But now we actually get the inner repeat. Would you consider using brand B if you don't use brand C? Yes. No. And that should be 3 times. And it is. And we now are at brand E. And let's say we always use this one and we always use this one. And then we should get the matrix 3 times because there are 3 brands that we use. Okay, so now we can actually take a look at the data. So let's go to this one, sample and invitations, quality control. Let's make sure that we look at the latest one, which is this one. Open it, and no, yeah, simple and invitation, quality control, and then open this one. So we can look at a few details. Let's click View Details, and immediately we see a few things here. We have an ID of the duration this particular interview set against the average duration of all the successful interviews. So that already tells us something about this interview. And then we actually see all the data answered. So this is our first question. The answer was male. You also see what the duration of this actually question was, how long this question took to answer. The eighth question, this is an overview of the brands that were answered. And then we are inside our repeat. In the repeat, you will actually see the complete duration of this repeat. So it's not the duration of the question, it's the total of all the questions asked inside that repeat. And then thanks to the table command, we actually then have a nice overview that brand B was answered never, brand C now and then, brand E always, brand G always. Then we have the open question, which you actually see. You also get the open questions here. So you don't need to download these separately. You will get it. You will get that open question. And again, thanks to the table command, we exactly know for which brand this was answered. And then we have the inner repeat, and that one has also a table command. So we know it's brand C coming from the first table command, and it's actually answering that it would consider to use brand B, but not brand E. It would consider to use brand G. And then finally, we have the matrix. Again, thanks to the table command, we know which questions are bought in line, in store, which online. Notice also what you don't see are those repeats that are skipped, and what you don't see are the dummy questions, because those questions aren't posed to our respondent. So those aren't visible in the quality control page as well. This one, the duration is actually something that we have added this sprint. So this one is only available in beta at this point. Other option that we have added shortly is this one, the search option. This list it's now just 8 questions, but this can be, it can be, of course, a list of hundreds of questions. You can actually search here either for the question ID, or you can search for something in a question text. So if I type buy, it immediately jumps to the question that is about buying the brand or not. This is for the online survey. This is an online survey. For KP surveys, we show a little bit more. Let me actually shift to a KP survey. Therefore, I will go to actual, not this one, but this manager. Again, let me go back, because there are actually KP surveys on this manager. Let me only show KP surveys. And let's use this one, setup, and then we go to simple and assignments here, quality control. If I open this one and I view at the few details, you immediately see that there are some more paradata information here, which has to do with the KP app it's running on and the device it's running on. And you can see the map here, and that will actually show the location where this interview took place. Those are all specific KP features, so those are not available for online. What we will be adding for KP this quarter is that in this view, you will also be able to start playing the online, the recordings, the silent recordings. And while you are playing those silent recordings, we will also stream the actual interview as it was done at that point. And we will also add at this point that you can look at the pictures that were taken during that KP interview. So, with that being said, I already saw a pop-up that there were some questions. So let's go to those.
Yes, ready to have a question. Yes, somebody noted it's a great development, but have a few questions. Do you need to have a repository active on your domain?
No. Let me first handle one thing. No, you do not have to. You do not need a repository active on your domain for the same reason as you do not need a repository to use the fieldwork report. So no, it's using part of the features that we have developed for the repositories, but you do not need to have an active repository to use this. Let me do one thing before we go to the next question.
Can I do the follow-up question?
Yeah.
The second part of that question was, is there a limit to the number of questions?
No. Well, in practice, there probably are, but we have not built in a limit, no.
Okay, all clear.
Okay, if you want to use this complete QC feature, so if you also want to use looking at the actual interview data, we need to turn this on for you on your specific domain, because at default, this has not been turned on domains at this moment. If you want that, please write to me. Here is my email address. Please write to me. Please drop me an email, and I will have this feature turned on for you, turned on for your domain. I will also be following that up with actually asking for your feedback on what you think about those features and how we could improve them. So, any other questions, Art?
Yeah, then another question came in. At the quality control, check details. Will the values of the ID command be displayed at some point later?
Isn't that there yet? No. Yeah. No. Sorry, I was confused. Yeah. At some point, we will start using the ID command. That's for sure. Certainly, if people want us to do. But the ID command is that only has been released from the top of my head 2 sprints ago, and a lot of the development of showing that is actually older than that. So we simply haven't had time to use the ID command as well. But yeah, it makes sense for us to start using the ID if that ID is used and not just the question number. So yes.
Okay, first change request already coming in. Those were the questions, Frank.
Okay. Then, as said, if you want us to turn on that looking at that interview data, please drop me an email and we will make that happen. As always, recordings of this session will be available later this week. The manuals will be updated. Please allow us some time. This is a completely new feature, so it needs to be updated from the ground up. So that will take a little more time, but probably not more than 2 weeks. If you have suggestions for a topic, please write to your help desk. And the next NIPO Academy, probably in 2 weeks, will be about the landing page, which is a new feature that we have. Any final questions?
No.
Thank you for your attention and hope to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.